Hey guys, happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing good. I am going to be reading a blog from July of 2018, and it is entitled Toxic Friends. Have you ever had a toxic friend or relationship? I have experienced a toxic relationship with a friend I've had my whole life. We've hung out together for innumerable hours and celebrated many milestones together. When I was sad or bored or hungry or frustrated or overwhelmed, my friend was always there with promises to comfort me, pick me up, make me happy, and take away my pain. Those promises never came true. My friend didn't have the ability to meet those needs in my life, but I still kept coming back, hoping my cup would be filled at this dry, empty well of a friendship. The expectation and hope that I put in my friend always led to disappointment and then anger, and sometimes the anger turned to an out-of-control rage inside of me. Unrealistic expectations and unmet needs can do that. I could see we had an unhealthy attachment because all of my emotions were wrapped up in this friend, but I couldn't see a way out. Even though I hated the way I felt, I couldn't imagine life without this friendship because we had been together for so long. What could life possibly look like without it? We have been the best of friends and the absolute worst enemies my whole life. Up until recently, that is. Do you have a toxic friend like this in your life? The friend I have been describing is not a person, but a thing, and this friend's name is food. I have spent so many years looking to food to fill me up emotionally while filling me up physically. Comfort me, calm me, numb me, excite me, reward me. Food has been my closest friend for a lifetime. A friend and a traitorous foe. An unfulfilling backstabber that only led me deeper into disappointment, anger, and rage, layered with shame, anxiety, and depression. Even at my lowest rock bottom, knowing I needed to end this relationship, I felt paralyzed and overwhelmed with fear. The possibility of turning my back and walking away from this mainstay of my existence felt scary and impossible at the beginning of my recovery journey. How could I possibly make it through each day without my faithful friend to lean on? The mind is a tricky battlefield, quick to forget how unfaithful our toxic friends actually are. My journey started with one step of faith, simply admitting that what I have been doing for 30 plus years has only gotten me deeper into a pit of despair. Then a second step of faith, asking God to help me trust Him to find a better way. As God started removing my attachment to that toxic friendship, I could see more clearly how I had been allowing myself to be poisoned day in and day out. I could see that food was never going to give me all of the things I so desperately needed, and it was obvious now that it had been foolish to ever think anything different from something so empty. The farther I walk from that pit, the clearer I can see how much more life there is to be lived outside of that toxic dependency on food. Detaching from food and setting a boundary around myself has opened up more space in my mind and heart for God to fill me with more of Him. I'm finding the more filled up I am with all of the life-giving things from God, the less I need food. I can finally answer the question, what is life without food? It's true life. It's life how God intended it to be lived. It's a life that makes me thankful for how my eyes have been opened to what has kept me chained and bound for so long to a very limited existence. It's a life lived more abundantly with abundant grace, abundant love, abundant forgiveness for others, and finally, after all these years, for me too. Life without the toxic food friendship is a life filled with experiences and people that pour God's richest blessings into my empty cup. It's a life completely dependent on God to comfort me, calm me, bring me joy, and bless me beyond all I could ever ask or imagine. It's a life lived learning to love and trust and grow the ultimate friendship with my Savior, my Jesus. There is nothing more filling than that. What or who are you looking to today to fill you up? What is the toxic friend in your life that you need to break up with? What dry, empty well do you need to walk away from? This has been the scariest and hardest journey I have ever taken, but I am learning that it's okay to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. One step combined with the next step and the next eventually makes a mile. One day combined with the next day and the next eventually leads you to a week, a month, a year. One choice combined with the next choice and the next eventually leads you to a freedom you never thought possible. If you're facing a similar struggle, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, sex, shopping, gambling, anything, you are not alone. There is no shame in asking for help or admitting that you've reached rock bottom. You don't have to live this way anymore. There is hope. There is help. One step, one day, one choice at a time. What step are you willing to take today? So that's my blog on toxic friends, and my friend being food, but the toxic relationship that we have with anything really can be with anything. Like I said, alcohol, drugs, sex, shopping, gambling, our relationships with our kids, our relationships with our spouse, any kind of a unhealthy attachment to anyone or anything that prevents us from drawing every comfort and every all of our approval and validation and all of the things that we need to be whole, all of that needs to come from God. And so anything that takes the place of that is going to be unhealthy. At least that's what I'm learning. And reading this and then comparing where I've been over the last year in this relapse and seeing how I have strayed away from all of the things that I've learned about as far as not using food as a comfort or using food to numb me, entertain me. You know, I'm bored, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm anxious, and, you know, food's always there. And it seems like it's the reliable, constant thing that I can turn to, but it's very unfulfilling. And I know that, and I have learned that, and I had a whole year from May 1st, 2018 to May 1st of 2019, and then at some point after that first year, things started to get a little bit sketchy. And I don't know, I haven't really pinpointed it exactly, and maybe it doesn't even really matter, but at some point, I think, I'm pretty sure it's pride, thinking that I could do this without God, that I could manage this food addiction and food obsession and the compulsive overeating. And so I let food, you know, reclaim that place in my life. And it didn't happen. It just, like, one day I just woke up and said, oh, I'm going to go into relapse. No, just like I said here, it happens one choice at a time. Just like recovery happens one choice at a time, so does relapse, or, you know, whatever other words you want to use, you know, backsliding or that type of thing. It's really just one choice. And so I am grateful that I can say, since Thursday, so I'm on day 3 of my new abstinence, that I am doing this one choice at a time to keep walking towards recovery and to keep walking towards a healthier me, and to be able to not have the weight of regret hanging over me, because that can be such a, it's just weighty. It's heavy. It's a very heavy, regret is, the number one thing that I think leads to shame. And they kind of go hand in hand. And so it feels good to not be giving the voice of shame any ammunition. And to just keep taking those steps towards recovery and those steps towards being healthier, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to try and get back to that place of allowing God to create the space in my mind and my heart to fill me up with more of Him, because that's where recovery happens, is allowing God room to do that in me. So that is my blog and my thoughts for today, on toxic relationships with our substances. Tomorrow is going to be my blog, which is entitled Spit in My Life, and it is based off of Mark chapter 8 verses 22 through 26, about Jesus healing a blind man with spit. So just some thoughts that I had on that. So that will be for tomorrow. I hope everyone has a good rest of their Sunday, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.